Well, thank you again for taking the time out today to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the film, and I saw that you co-wrote the script, so I wanted to ask about that experience and maybe what the was for the story and what that process was like of really getting this film started over.
Sure. So I always loved the idea of making a kind of a kid's scary adventure movie up in the Arctic. That's where I grew up, and I remember just having so many adventures with my friends. And so and I certainly loved movies like The Goonies and E.T. and so that's kind of where the root of the idea came from. I had this idea of girls fighting aliens, and so I started by kind of developing that idea as a proof of concept first. And I went up to Iqaluit, which is the capital of Nunavut, which is in the high Arctic in Canada. And I did some acting workshops with young women, teenagers, and essentially I decided against doing kind of a formal audition process just because I knew that wouldn't necessarily be something they were familiar with. There weren't any casting agents or anything like that in Iqaluit. So instead it was held as acting workshops. And I brought an amazing actor, Christine Tutu, who ended up working in our props department. She is an actor, has done theater work and some film work. And so she helped me with the acting workshops with the young girls. And that's actually where I met Alexis, who plays Jessie, Chelsea, who plays Lena, and Nyla I already knew, but she was then cast. But she was cast in the movie as the role that Frankie would eventually take. But so she kind of grew out of that role, and I cast her as one of the older teenagers. But that was something that we filmed in 2017. And so once we shot that and had this, what we thought was a kind of a great idea for a movie, we then were able to find producing partners, and I started chatting with people, different writers, about to find a co-writer, and I met Ryan Cavan, who I've since worked on a second script with. We had it was a really kind of special process of developing the script together. We went up again to Iqaluit, which is where my parents lived at the time, the capital of Nunavut again, and we were hanging out with the girls. We went out on boats and went fishing and would then go home and talk a lot and write. And it was this really kind of fantastic, therapeutic at times process. And we ended up having what was really close to the final script in December of 2018. We went and did that writing trip in September. And then once we had that script, we were able to start kind of in earnest figuring out our financing and getting all of that sorted, and we're able to shoot the following spring, summer. So it was kind of a quick turnaround once we had the script.
And speaking of the cast, I also wanted to ask about getting to work with them once the movie began, and really maybe working with them to develop the characters, and just what was that experience like once they signed on to really work on the script as well.
Yeah, working with the cast has been the most rewarding experience for me in this entire process. They're just really special. They're very talented, and it kind of feels like something we started developing when on our own, and just like with this belief that we could find the right people to help us make it. And so to see Alexis getting her pilot's license to fly airplanes, and Tessiana talking about her ambitions to be a teacher, and all of these things, it's very exciting to kind of see them grow up and have Slashback be a part of that.
And also, like you mentioned, the location, and I wanted to ask about that experience. And once production began, what that experience was like of really figuring out where exactly you wanted to shoot the film and really securing the locations as well.
Yeah, the community of Pang is really special to me. It's quite small. It's 1,500 people, and it's fly-in only, meaning that you have to fly from what we call the South. So anywhere that's not the Arctic is considered the South. So that includes, Winnipeg, Toronto, all of that is the South. And so you have to fly from those cities to Iqaluit, which is the capital, which has about 7,000 people. And then from there, you can take a smaller, tiny plane that's quite terrifying to some of the other smaller communities, including Pang. My family is from one of the other small communities, Iqaluit, which is beautiful, and it has actually had quite a few movies shot there, including Actonarjot Fast Runner by Zach Quinnock. But I love the community of Pang, and the people and the place. My nephews are from there. My sister-in-law her family is from there, and my nephews are so adorable. And so it was this. I had initially gone to film a documentary about the tradition of square dancing in Pang when I was in my early 20s. And that was with the Canada's National Film Board. And I went and filmed this short documentary, and it was so beautiful. I also went there in the winter time and got frostbite on my fingers. So I think that it formed my decision to go and shoot Slashback in the summertime. But it was really beautiful. And so I knew that even though it would come with a bunch of challenges, that it would be worth it to film there.
Also, going back to working with the cast, I also wanted to ask about really creating like the more like if there was any action sequences that they did, and like the sci-fi elements of the film, and what that experience was like as well. Maybe working with them on the physicality for their characters as well.
Yeah, there was different kind of physical requirements for different cast. The teenage cast definitely had some physically challenging scenes, and Nyla in particular, who was 11 years old at the time, had a really physically challenging fight with an alien in the middle of nowhere, a location we essentially all had to hike to. But she was great, and carrying some stuff that was heavy, and that kind of stuff. When you're doing it, even if it's only for a few seconds, it's like you do it 10 times, so it's going to be heavy. And so there were challenges for our cast that they handled really well. We also had some amazing stunt doubles that were a part of the process. We also had an amazing contortionist named Troy, who he goes by Twisty Troy on Instagram, and you really should look him up. He's amazing. He played the role of our aliens when they take human form. And so figuring out the movement for Troy was really kind of fun. So he does things that the human body just shouldn't do. And so luckily he was in Toronto near me, and so we could meet up beforehand and figure out exactly what the alien walk and run and that sort of thing would look like. And then there were at times 2 aliens in human form at once. So we had another dancer, Ophelio, who learned from Troy the different movements to match. And so it was really kind of fun to figure out, okay, what would these aliens that are built, made up of these tentacles, how would they move if they were stuck inside human casing? Or like casing, that's a weird way to describe it.
And also, besides working on the script, I also wanted to ask about just your overall approach to directing once production began, and what was your just experience like of working with the cast as a director for the film as well?
Yeah, it was a really exciting and terrifying experience to be directing this project. This was my first feature, so I really didn't know what I was getting into, which I think if I had, I would have made it a little easier on myself. The second script I have is so much simpler than this one, but it was really exciting. I had such an amazing and experienced crew. And what I realized is like they make movies all year round. This is what they do, is they get to set and they solve problems. And so to have such an experienced crew was such a blessing. My assistant director, Ryan Highland, was such a support to me, both in the job, but also just emotional support. And my cinematographer, Guy Godfrey, was so wonderful, and our cast really loved our entire crew, so they felt really comfortable, which was so important.
And also, with the film having its world premiere coming up at South by Southwest, what's that experience been like of having the movie play at the festival and being able to be seen by American audiences as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. The girls are so excited to come. I'm glad that I'm able to bring our teenage cast, which includes Frankie, our youngest, who was 8 years old when we started filming, and at the time we started filming hadn't seen a tree in real life because we're above the tree line up in Nunavut. And so to come to Texas and see an American audience and share it with people that maybe don't know a lot about Nunavut or where they come from, I think that will be really special, because we're all really proud of where we come from.
I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks again.
Thank you.